Hi, it's Maggie the Aries Gypsy here to bring you your February 2019 general readings. Welcome to everyone here today, returning people and new people as well. Thanks for all your likes, shares, subscribes, and your support and feedback. And thanks to all of my clients out there, regular and new, for keeping me always so busy with personal readings. I hope everyone is having a really nice start to this beautiful new year. If any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, you can get more info and contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the little About button there. Or you can click on the description bar of any of the videos I post. Please feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do, so turnaround time is pretty good. I usually work pretty diligently with everyone's schedules to get them readings as quickly as possible. So if you're interested, send me an email. We'll go from there. I do a wide variety of readings of all different types and lengths in all the main areas of life. All right, let's move right into this reading. This is for the fire sign of Aries for the month of February 2019. If you know your rising and moon sign, watch those videos as well for additional clarification. As you know, general readings can always resonate a little differently for everyone watching. All right, Aries, let's see what's in store for you for February 2019. We begin for the first week with the Hierophant, followed by the Magician. Around the second week or so, we have the Five of Cups, followed by the Nine of Wands. Around the third week, we have the Ace of Swords, followed by the Two of Cups. And at or towards the end of February, we have the Ace of Pentacles, followed by the Five of Wands. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and focus for February is the Nine of Swords. So the Nine of Swords as overall energy for the month of February is a lot of stress, anxiety, staying up late, kind of going over and over and over again, circular thoughts in your head, building something up in your head to be much, much bigger or worse than the actual reality of it is. Always a relatively illusionary card, meaning usually when the Nine of Swords comes up, it represents that overthinking, obsessive thinking, and it's typically fear of the future, fear of a future which hasn't played out yet, and dwelling on it to the extent that it becomes very unrealistic in your head and doesn't even match the validity of what the situation really is. It's making something to be bigger and worse or more difficult in your head than it actually really is, just because you're dwelling on it too much and kind of imagining the worst. What am I going to happen if this, what am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if this doesn't happen? Writing the future, a future which hasn't even unfolded yet. Even though the source of your concerns might be valid, the Nine of Swords usually comes up when you're overthinking it and it's just become bigger in your head than it really actually is. I'm going to pull a clarifying card to see what this stress and anxiety is about. Looks like it's something to do with a perhaps personal or perhaps a love relationship in your life as well. Maybe the future of where it's going. Clarification for the Nine of Swords. Yes, the Nine of Cups. This is really leading to your joy and fulfillment. The Nine of Cups is traditionally called the wish fulfillment card. It can represent you know, having what you want, getting everything that you want, an overabundance of joy, your cups overflowing. So as this is clarifying what this stress is about, I think it looks like, Aries, that a lot of you are thinking about the future of a relationship in your life. I think for many of you, this is going to be a personal love relationship. Maybe thinking about what the best decision is moving forward. Should you disconnect yourself from this relationship, or if you move to the next, maybe a more formal conventional step like engagement or marriage, if this is really going to be something that leads to your happiness, your fulfillment, your joy, and perhaps feeling a lot of stress and anxiety about that. half of which is not realistic, because this Nine of Swords, most of this energy is illusionary. It's worrying about things either which are not in your control, or a fear of the future which is not actually even going to happen in terms of a negative outcome. So at the beginning we have the Hierophant and the Magician, which I think is more clarification on what this issue is about. The Hierophant is a card of convention, tradition, commitment, the establishment, walking the prescribed path, doing what is the convention of whatever area of your life this is resonating in. Again, I feel like it's probably, for a lot of you, I think for most of you, a personal love relationship, perhaps taking it to another level, getting engaged, getting married, the conventional path. There is a certain amount of, there is a small amount of self-sacrifice involved in the Hierophant card, but the payoff is that you get to belong to a large group of people. You get to be under a sheltering umbrella of convention, of what that path represents. Now, the Hierophant is clarified by the Magician. It's a very powerful combination of cards, particularly in the first week, 2 major arcana cards, which represents significant life shifts or changes, or the possibility of that. I think right now it's something that you're going over in your head. Again, cut back on this Nine of Swords energy. It's almost as if you're fearing the worst should you move ahead or not move ahead. Again, it's illusionary negative thinking. When the Magician shows up, the Magician is a very independent entrepreneurial card. It's a card that represents that you have everything you need to manifest what you want. Because the Magician has reached a place in his career through a long path of trial and error, success and triumph, failure and defeat. He's learned from everything, and he's finally reached a point where, due to his hard work and effort, he now has the ability to create and manifest whatever it is that he wants. And I feel like this is also a message from Spirit for you, Aries, that that you have more control in this situation than you think you have. I'm seeing that there's a lot of stress and anxiety and worry about making a decision about where to go with this relationship. And I'm sorry for some of you that aren't in relationships and aren't interested in a relationship reading. I usually try and cover all bases, career, work, and finance, but honestly, I feel like this is centered around a very significant primary relationship for you, whether it's love and romance or whether it's a best friend. And it's about moving forward into a deeper level of commitment and convention in this relationship. There's a lot of stress over whether this is going to be best for you, but I really feel like Spirit is sending you a message here that you can create whatever this is, that if you decide to disengage, that your future is going to be what you're able to make of it, and that if you choose to move forward again into a deeper level of commitment and convention within this relationship or situation, again, you have more control over the success or failure of it than you think that you have now. You have the ability to manifest and make of this what you want. And I also feel too, like those of you who may have been not willing to look at this, or have been waffling about it, or just refusing to kind of think about it because you're afraid that it would put you in a position to make a decision, that now is the time to act. Now, next to that, we have the Five of Cups and the Nine of Wands. So the Five of Cups is a card about focusing on loss, on grief. You can see that this man is completely focused on these 3 cups, which are tipped over and spilled out, representing something that he's lost or something he no longer has. But behind this man are these 2 beautiful goblets, still upright, still golden, still full, representing things he has in his life to be grateful for, and opportunities which are in his environment which he is not seeing and may possibly miss or lose because he's only focused on basically the past, what no longer is. Now that's clarified with the Nine of Wands, which is a card about pushing through. Tens represent completions of cycles in the tarot. So the 9 represents being very close to pushing through to the end of something. This grouping of wands behind him represents one last obstacle, one last challenge to push through. He may not realize that he's so close to pushing through to success, but he is. I often call the Nine of Wands the 11th hour card, or the card that represents its darkest before dawn, sometimes the dark night of the soul. So it may be the second week of February or so, Aries. The challenge is in, I think for a lot of you, it's dwelling on the past. Perhaps some of you, for those of you for whom this may resonate as a relationship issue, it might be that, you know, you've had some very negative experiences or a negative experience in the past with going this path, and you're terribly afraid of that repeating itself. But again, it really feels like Spirit is asking you to kind of push through what your fears are and stop dwelling in the past, because even though it may feel like you want to maintain this life of independence, it's actually not independence. You're still enslaved to the past, and it is in fact your past pain, your past negative experiences that are making these decisions for you. Your fear is actually making the decisions for you, and I feel like Spirit, it very much is asking you to push through that fear. It is your last big obstacle that stands in between you and the happiness of your heart and your home as well. Now, next to that, around the third week or so, we have the Ace of Swords and the Two of Cups. Now, aces represent the number one, so they always represent the start of something new, a new promise, new beginning, a new path, or the opportunity for that. Swords is air energy. It's about our ideas and thoughts and belief systems and what goes on up in our heads, because that directly affects the way that we see and relate and communicate our words and our ideas to the world. It's mental energy. So the Ace of Swords is new information, seeing something in a new light, new perspective on something, kind of your epiphany, the light bulb going off over your head, seeing something in a new way, getting an answer or clarification to something. Now, what clarifies it is the Two of Cups, which is the traditional soulmate card. This is a card that represents that for those of you for whom this is a personal relationship, this is definitely your soulmate. This is someone that you connect with on a variety of different levels, and someone for whom you've been brought together by God, Spirit, your angels, and guides in order to give you opportunities to be challenged, so that you can grow and learn and move forward. And I feel like it looks like around the third week or so, there's clarification, there's some new messages coming in, you're seeing something in a different light, you may be having some new ideas on what to do with this relationship, and seeing a different and more clear perspective with this. And that's continued out or towards the end of February 2019 with the Ace of Pentacles and the Five of Wands. You have two aces next to each other. Here's the practical new beginning, because Pentacles, here's another ace. Pentacles is earth energy, so it's tangible, practical, new energy. Sometimes this is the energy, the Ace of Pentacles comes up sometimes for moving, relocating, starting a new job, starting something new that's going to make a difference in your day-to-day practical life. And it's right next to the Ace of Swords. So I feel like the last half of the month, particularly the end of the month, it's like you get this new idea, this new perspective, some new insight on this situation, on this relationship. And it looks like the end of February, beginning of March is when you actually begin to move on this, to begin to put this into motion. I feel like some of you might be moving, traveling, relocating, or moving back to something. And you're having a new start, and it looks to me like a lot of you are going to be choosing to have a new start or start a new phase of this soulmate relationship that you have. There's still some fear and conflict with it. The Ace of Pentacles is clarified by the Five of Wands, which is a card that can represent both internal and external conflict. I feel like for a lot of you it's internal conflict, particularly since you know, that Nine of Swords, that overall energy, which you don't have to have for the whole of February. I mean, one of the reasons we do these readings, forewarned is forearmed, so you can get an idea of what's coming and therefore be more prepared to deal with it or combat it. So we know that a lot of your fears are groundless. Some of your fears are quite valid, especially if this is a relationship issue. Every relationship has its challenges and its ups and downs, but it looks like a lot of your fears are based on a past which is no longer the present reality. And I feel like a lot of you are getting some insight and are actually going to have the courage and the strength and the desire for what you want with this person to move forward into these fears and through these fears. And remember that when you're doing this in a true soulmate relationship with someone else, you're not alone in dealing with this. You have somebody else to be on this journey with and to kind of share this with. So I'm going to pull one additional card for guidance, additional advice from God, Spirit, your angels, and guides for the month of February 2019. See what Spirit's advice for you is, and a card just leaps right out. We have the Ten of Cups. Remember, tens represent culmination, fulfillment, achievement, and cycles end. This is the happy home card, the happily ever after card. This is a home that represents being at a place where you finally feel like things have come together in a beautiful way, particularly where home, family, hearth is concerned. It's one of the marriage cards, blessings cards, strongly connected to home and family as well. It's nicknamed the happily ever after card, or the happy home card in the tarot. Not perfect, of course. Perfection, unfortunately, does not exist in this world, although it's something that we realistically strive for. But as your final advice card for February 2019, Aries, it does look like Spirit is cradling your moving into your fears, challenging yourself on them, because that is ultimately what's going to banish your fears and put you in a place within your own heart and within your home and family, to have that kind of home and family that I think that you've longed for, and perhaps often because of past experiences doubted you could ever have. Spirit is asking you to challenge your fears, to face them and walk through them. Of course, we live in a free will zone. You can choose to do that or choose to not do that, but this is what Spirit is cradling and supporting for you this month, Aries. So Aries, I hope that this reading resonated with those of you who needed to hear it. And I hope that you found it useful and helpful, and will as the month continues to go on. Again, if any of you are interested in a more personal one-on-one reading with me, you can feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be happy to work with you. I can usually get back to you within the same day or the first 24 hours of your initial contact with more info. I do readings in all areas of life, love and romance, of course, compatibility reading, career, work, and finance, as well as investment readings. And I offer 6 and 12-month overviews, which are particularly popular around the end of the year and beginning of a new year, although you can order them any time of the year. They take a look at what's coming in all the main areas of your life over the next 6 or 12 months, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So something for you to consider as well. You can get all my contact info by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the About button there, or you can click on the description bar of any of the videos I post for my contact information, email, and whatnot. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy, and that app is good for quick answers to quick questions. So another techno option for those of you who are interested. So Aries, I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the February 2019 mid-month readings. Until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. And I hope to see you back here again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.